Thank you so much, Lance. Thank you so much, Kev. Welcome everyone to the casting desk for the final matchup of today's broadcast with one spot in tomorrow's semi-finals up to grab. TJ here, Mana Class alongside me on a bit of the late shift here over on EU. The accent might give it away, Mano, but what a broadcast we've had. 0.18. This patch is living up to every expectation we had and even a lot more.
It is. I mean, is it everything we wanted it to be? Probably. I mean, there's so and you don't even know where to start. I mean, it's always cool to get a new hero. We get a bunch of new items. A bunch of things get slashed, get buffed, get nerfed, get changed. It's just not the same game anymore. I think we can almost say it's the same name, like label. The heroes look the same. The map is roughly the same. That's about it. It's, you know, everything is new. And I do think these teams get a very good chance of highlighting how different it is and how varied it is as well. We've seen so much different stuff already today. Can't wait to see more.
Yeah, just as you say, like having that notion that kind of everything feels familiar, but everything feels different as well. And also with our two newest heroes being added to the roster, Aurora and Grim.exe, both of which have been seeing play as well. And it's not so much that anything kind of drastic has really changed that much. You know, we've had the new items, we've had some reworks and more tweaks as well. But with the heroes, just a bit of numbers being switched around, of course, the 6th item slot as well. So honestly, this game is, this meta really just has really shaken up, and honestly just looking to see how both of these teams want to navigate Xclusive versus Ritterriffic in this final quarterfinal matchup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're talking about it, numbers being shown around. I'm probably not the only one. I did not memorize that 100+ page technical change document they sent, but you know, we got into the nitty-gritty of it a little bit. But honestly, between these two teams, they've both played a bunch of rounds already. We're going to just have to see how they play against each other. We know a little bit about them beforehand, but the draft is going to be very telling. We know Xclusive drafts well. Maybe Ritter drafts even better.
Well, it's all going to come down to it as well, as we're just going to go for that absolutely sleek transition into this beautiful draft phase. You can see Team Xclusive going to be on Dawn side, Ritterriffic on Dust side. So first pick and first ban going to go the way of Xclusive. We get to see a little glimpse kind of into the Brotherhood meta, because you have to remember 0.18 only came out on Tuesday. So this very much does feel like the Wild West. First ban going to come up, that Chimera taken off the board. They've got a bunch of power picks available, like that Aurora still up, Zarus still available as well.
Yeah, and we were talking about it before we went into the booth, of course. Saying like, yeah, Aurora just came out in a very nice balanced state. You really like to have her, but it's not one of those heroes that you have to have her. He's not like, you know, like an Argus that came out in the first week. If you didn't have an Argus in your team, you were likely going to lose if the other team did. So that's a really nice thing to see, because that, again, it further diversifies the draft. There aren't a lot of heroes right now that you think like, oh yeah, absolutely not. If I get this on my team, we've basically already lost. So, or, you know, we've already won. So that's a very nice place to be in. We get the phase pickup from Xclusive. I do also think that the BFC and it being a very new patch opens up the door to a lot of, you know, comfort picking. A lot of situations where players say, I know this might not have been good before, but we now have the chance to see if it actually is good because it's so new and no one knows. And sometimes that might work, sometimes it might not. And phase, yeah, I mean, phase has always been in a place where you can do really well, especially if your dual lane is played into each other.
As well, especially with kind of the notion of wanting to get your ADCs ahead, you know, 6 items, taking a little bit longer for those ADCs to really hit their full stride, of course, with the adjustments to a number of the items to make up for that as well. But Team Ritterriffic, you know, if you're going to take the phase first pick, sure, give yourself a lot of priority into that dual lane, but we're going to take 2 absolutely terrifying members of the roster, the Zarus and the Quang. Both of these heroes looking so good on this current patch, and Team Ritterriffic already looking pretty good with that start.
It's just, and it's also the ability to flex pick both of these. Like, you know, you have the offlane and jungle picked here, but you still don't know exactly who's going to go where, because they could both swap into either. I do think that this is an interesting pickup for the Richter, because normally we've seen Richter in the support role a lot. We can play him in jungle, we can play him in offlane, hasn't been super popular. So maybe we're going to see the face somewhere else, but then you get the Gideon, so your mid's kind of solidified. Either Xclusive is doing something really cool, or they're doing something that I'm just not sure about.
I'm just liking that priority being given over towards the mid role, as well as Lance said on the cast seismic. One of his favorite players, one of my favorite players as well in that role. And we know, of course, from my experience with casting him in the PCC as well, how an absolutely awesome mid lane he is. So giving him a bit of that priority over towards that Gideon pick, which is also another one of these heroes really rising up in the current meta. And a bit of a standard one as well. Ritterriffic in their final pick of the first phase of the pick phase. Going to go for that Kira, and then they're going to ban away that Sparrow. And honestly, if that doesn't sum up how crazy 0.18 is, that Sparrow is getting banned, and I don't know what does.
Yeah, it just really solidifies what we've been saying before. It's just a different game. Never saw Sparrow before, ever. No one was interested. Now all of a sudden, they can't get enough of it. It's great. I mean, there have always been the Sparrow lovers. I like Sparrow as a hero, but I do acknowledge that it was a little bit of a problematic hero at times. The Kira, I have a little bit of a thing about this. The Kira versus the Richter, especially if the Richter is going to be on support and FaZe is somehow going to be somewhere else. Because you cannot hook Akira. You can react dash and the cooldown's lower. So what are you going to do as Richter? Hook the support? Well, then the support's got to either be something that you can actually kill, or it's something tanky. Sometimes it's an Narbash. Would be a really good matchup with this. We're going to see the Countess come out first.
Then also with what we're expecting to be solo and jungle already kind of locked in with the Zarus and the Quang. I know there is a flex potential here. I've been seeing kind of like some players have been experimenting a little bit. I want to call it experimenting, with the Zarus support. I know Quang support was tried out in a couple of scrims when he released as well. But with this Countess being coming in, and unless they go for a kind of an unorthodox composition here, this looks like it's going to be Countess mid for now. So I want to see how Team Xclusive want to respond, locking in that ADC, going to take their Murdoch, and I say with that going to be most likely paired with that phase as well. So it looks like maybe this Richter kind of going to be see where the question marks are going to go. And when you're locking in a steal, there's still going to be question marks. That is a lot of flex potential.
It's a lot of flex potential, but there's also a lot of questions. Like, even when there's questions about where these things go, it's also whether they're ideal to go in any of these situations. And I'm just not feeling the exclusive draft right now. It's also because of the way the bans and the picks have been going, all the supports are available. Just FaZe and Richter are technically missing, but there's so much still open here. So yeah, why not pick the Decker? You have the opportunity. It's extra lockdown, it's extra stun, it's extra everything. And we've said it before, right? You have the Zarus, you have a Colosseum, you have extra lockdown from your Quam. Then your Decker could even lock them up again. There's so much jail time for enemy heroes here, the side of exclusive potentially, that it's going to be a rough one. They don't have a lot of super direct stuns other than, throwing out the Decker Orb to stun out the Gideon of the ultimate. But everything else, it's looking pretty good for Ritterriffic.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just looking at these heroes being locked in, I know if I'm playing this game and I see this lineup going against me, it's like, oh, great. If any one of these four heroes and the Decker gets ahead, I mean, the Decker just enables so much of this composition to do so well, as you mentioned, of course, with the setup, and also, that Tether, that Colosseum coming down. If this Countess gets fed, it might be game over. If this Kira gets fed, it might be game over as well. So a lot of pressure and a lot of eyes are going to be on Team Xclusive to really make this draft work as well. Because as we said, if Ritterriffic are able to get ahead, if they're able to start snowballing, this game could run out of control very quickly. But Xclusive have got some tools available to try and deal with it.
They sure do. I really hope that they're going to be able to get especially the health bars of that Steel and Richter up. If they can create a front line that actually has to be dealt with for the side of Ritterriffic, then they could definitely pose a problem. Of course, that will also mean that automatically your ADC will get more farmed, your mid will get more farmed, but they do need those power levels to go up. You can't just have a Richter sit on and your Steel sit on, I have my abilities, I'm good for farm now, because they need those frontliners.
We're getting the notification as well that the game is ready. So we're going to go and transition down to the battleground for the final quarterfinal match of today's stream. A spot in tomorrow's semi-finals up for grabs. Who is going to take it? Team Xclusive or Team Ritterriffic? Well, we're going to have a terrific time figuring that one out. And just going by how some of the games have gone on this broadcast, as I mentioned to you, Matt, right at the start, we really have had everything. We've had 3-game series. We've had absolutely long, drawn-out barn burners of matches as well. We've also had some pretty quick ones as well. Where do you think this game might be leaning towards?
Yeah, I mean, looking towards that draft, right? I do think there's a lot of scaling potential on the side of Xclusive. They do have the potential to just late game be very scary. But if they get a slow start, if they don't get both their ADC as well as like those both more tanky heroes, you know, like everyone kind of needs to get online. I do think there's a lot more hyper carry potential on the side of Team Ritterriffic. Like there's a lot of different heroes that can be like essentially get an ace on their own.
All the eyes are going to be on it as well. And I like how you mentioned that as well with these teams, like getting them ahead, getting that setup as well can be so important. So having a little look across that mini map as well, no sneaky shenanigans, no invades going on. It's going to be a very standard start for both of these teams as well. Just hovering down there, also seeing where those heroes are going to be falling. So that's Zaris into the off lane for Team Ritterriffic, the Kwang into the jungle. Team Xclusive going to be running that Richter in the jungle, and the Steel going into the off lane. Mano, how do you rate that particular variation of both these comps?
I do think it's the best of all the options they could have gone for. It's like it's the option they had left, so to speak. But you are looking indeed. You look at that, like the tanky brawlers and like jungle and off lane potential here versus just the actual brawl fighters. So the Zaris and the Kwang, they're very capable of actually taking a duel with someone or with more than one person. Steel and the Richter are more good at like surviving and disabling and not so much at adding to that damage a lot.
We're going to get our first gank of the game. That's going to be a very early blink being forced out by Boinks, playing that Countess mid as Bulbo making their first foray in towards the mid lane. 5-minute cooldown has been burned for now. A little bit of pressure starting to leak here for Team Ritterriffic to get a response in that duo lane. Xclusive and Tiny Nico do go a little bit low from this Kira and FaZe duo.
I think they're supposed to be able to play safe, right? You have the phase, you can play a little more aggressive if you want to, but you can always get pulled back to safety. A lot of damage being traded back and forth here. Xclusive does have to blink away, or pulled away actually, but they do manage to keep skirmishing, and both of them don't really go down. So 0 eliminations on the board still for both teams.
And also just able to keep with that healing as well, chugging that health pot just to keep Xclusive boxing in that matchup as well. We're going to be a little bit of a pain for them as well, but honestly a lot of pressure on Tiny Nico just to make that phase pick work and make sure Xclusive is allowed to just hold down that left click and really start to utilize the Murdoch. See here, Kwang jungle getting a little bit of damage on towards side on this Gideon pick as well. D-Mob here gonna bump in towards Bulbo on that Richter as well. Just a meeting of the minds and a Rift Flash going to connect down on towards the Kwang, but not got much kill potential just yet. But already this Richter jungle starting to get their aim on, and so we've got some pressure in towards this solo side. Motion's gonna make a lot of motions towards his tower. He's able to get away and not gonna be executed by Spirit of Nier.
It is the name of the game for this Steel for a while. Stay alive. Just don't feed and don't get too far behind. But Seismic does find elimination onto Boinks in the mid lane. That's really something they need. Like they need someone to win their lane to be ahead, and the mid lane does seem to get a lot of priority for them at the moment. Not a strange thing to do when you have Seismic on your team and you're on a Gideon.
That's it. And with also the junglers showing a lot towards that mid lane. Was expecting a kill to come from the gank, but that was in isolation. Looks like a solo bolo and a first blood going into Psy's back pocket. And as we mentioned in the draft, Boinks on this Countess can be a hero that can start to dominate if they get ahead. But Psy getting that early pick off and starting to win this lane, that opens the doors for Team Xclusive's composition to kind of play this map a little bit more.
We'll be seeing that mid lane matchup evolve as time goes on. Already you see the pressure coming from that Gideon. You see the damage on the tower. Of course, the first elimination comes through. But that is the only lane they seem to have a lot of sort of aggressive and dominant pressure most of all. Ritterriffic is able to keep at least that solo lane, but also the dual lane to a large degree in control.
With that, just that one kill, that's the only real foray of action that we've had from both of these games. We are just approaching that 5-minute mark as well. Just keeping our eyes on Boinks here as well, able to get another level, just trying to maybe get a bit of revenge on towards Psy. Another slip towards them. Once again, junglers are going to be around 4 to 5 minute timings as well. Potential for the gank on towards the mid lane, but Sion at Gideon, such a difficult hero to lock down with that torn space. And of course, Sai having that blink available, and also because of the experience behind him in towards that mid lane as well. And Mano, just wanting to mention maybe about the experience here, because, you know, these teams have only really been together for 1 week. They're not really established teams, so to speak here. It looks like I've got to hold that fort. Side's going to get a second solo bolo in the mid lane. It's starting to become a bit of a disaster for Team Ritterriffic.
Elimination's starting to be worth more. Like, you talk about experience, but the experience and the gold gain, both of those have been buffed a little bit in this version of the game. 6 items you do still want to get to the 6th item potentially, and not only when you get to a 50-minute game. Got to up the gold gain a little bit. Motion getting to level 6 here does actually keep up with the XP, which is good to see. And the lanes are just, they're laning right now. Then again, that mid lane is just going well for Team Xclusive, but it does seem like Team Ritterriffic is not falling behind in any other way than just that mid lane.
And it seems as well that both of these junglers, after having showing their presence quite early in the opening exchanges of this game, at that 2-minute mark, 3-minute mark, burning those blinks and being very showing their presence on this map, they've gone back into their jungles, started to farm up as well, not really had many movements towards the lanes. I know we did see Bulbo make a move over towards gold buff just a few moments ago as well, but it seems a very standard, game still in its equilibrium at the moment. So we're keeping an eye on that mini map as well. Points moving in towards the river 4. That's a river buff. I think Bulbo was thinking as a gank was potentially going to come through as well, as Boy's going to grab that green buff on the left hand side. Side's also going to grab the one on the right as well. He seems there as well, just waiting for that flash, but waiting for that big move, as Boynt is going to be able to get away, as Bulbo once again shows their presence inside of this mid lane.
They're constantly just keeping that pressure up, and again, if you get that lead, you're able to hold on to it. We've seen so many teams today figure out how to get a lead, but then not how to hold on to it, but also finish it. You see another ultimate come through here, but this time around, it's not going to get the Countess. Guys make falls on their end, and she does have the ultimate now. Can actually counter it with a big burst.
Yeah, if he's coming online, but also I get the sense that kill felt personal as well. Sitting back, taking the over to two solo kills, but to able to get one back as well. Not really open up this map so much for now, as I say. Maybe the key for unlocking this game still relies in these junglers. Maybe looks over towards these side lanes as well. Steel doing a pretty good job of just staying alive, no matter what Zanazurg is trying to do on this Zaris. You can see the CC as this Steel starts to get a little bit easier as this game goes on, facing up against that Zaris.
Yeah, a big deal as well. When we're talking about the mid lane, right? We talk about all the items that have been added. There's also been a bunch of items that have been removed, and mid lane has been the most unaffected by any item removals. So they only got more stuff, which is really cool, because you can see some diversity now. We do see that Lifebinder already come through here for the Countess. So more lifesteal, more just, of course, also magical damage. But it is very much something that is a staple of Countess kit for a long time. We might see some new things come through with the power that has been granted to the mid laners.
And I get the sense as well, of course, with the Wild West, really, as we mentioned before, this patch has only been out for a couple of days, so there's still not found, that perfect item build, that established item kind of order that you were able to complete them in as well. A bit of argy-bargy in the mid lane. Boy's going to take a shield slam from the motion on the Steel, as members are starting to arrive. We're going to bump straight in towards a skewer from this Richter as well, trying to get the damage. There's going to be a root coming in because the face is over here. A good blink to get away, but it looks like as it wants even more, the Richter's going to get involved. Now a Colosseum coming down. All members starting to flood in towards his right-hand side of the map, and no one drops just yet until Bulbo on that Richter finally falls down. It's going to be the Zaris getting involved and getting that first kill in that action.
Yeah, Steel nowhere to be found. Unfortunately, wasn't part of that fight at all, and that means it's a good number advantage and also damage advantage for Ritterriffic, and health point advantage, not to mention. They do find the elimination on the Kwang late, so that will be something that goes down on the other side, but it is starting to even out a little bit more in terms of eliminations. The gap has been was almost closed, but now it's only 1 kill instead of 2. Kira just been farming in her own lane, trying to get some pressure on that tower, and then of course you can start roaming a little bit when the other duo lane returns. and we do see that power level go up. Like extra magical power is now being picked up. There's a very, very, very good chance that we're going to see this Countess either go for a Soul Binder. That might be something she could do, but I am not entirely sure what they prefer. I mean, of course, like we said, there are new options. Let's see if they actually want to explore those on the side of Boinks.
Well, we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on with bated breath where those two codexes decide to be built in as well. As we're just having a little hop around the map as well. I can see some more of the items being built up as we have got Xanazerg picking up that Mutilator as well. Boinks still having a little bit of trouble with motion on that steel, constantly having fights around him as that mini prime to maybe be the first target here as we get into the stage where neutral objectives start to be picked up and start to be targeted as well. Neither team really finding that clear cut pick yet to lead in towards that neutral objective. A lot of equilibrium for now. Fido is quite far pushed up inside of this mid lane as well. Got to be careful as D-Mob is going to be around on this Kwang as well. Just going to try and lock down a Gideon who remains very slippery, but he's got a Richter. He's got that bodyguard available to him as well. That will just be enough to get Seismic away. Once again, a lot of danger being shown here, but no one's going to drop just yet.
Oh, again, good peel from the Richter coming in there. Also good peel from D-Mob to not let it escalate to a 1v1 on mid lane again. They are starting to rotate better, like you said. And the steal, the health pool's going up. You can see it. The Zerus is not actually able to keep him back as far without losing as much of their own HP. It's a very good thing because we were worried about it. At least I was definitely worried about it. And but we keep going back to the mid lane. We get the Gideon ult. We get the Countess ult to counter it. Both take a lot of damage, but it is still going to be a lot more damage onto this lovely little vampire lady. They do have some people waiting in the
yeah, I'm just seeing motion on stage left as well. Yeah, very threatening presence. You know, kind of having that almost sixth sense, being like, hey, someone is definitely trying to go for the gank here. I'm going to get away, but maybe you can see a bit of the plays coming out from Team Xclusive as well. Probably absolutely fed up with laning against that Zerus, wanting to let that steal start to impact the map. We're just going to be following D-Mob on this Kwang pick as well. Currently hovering over towards that duo side, thinking about a Fangtooth play, wanting to get a pick on towards Tiny Nico and Xclusive on this duo lane, but not really getting the opportunity to do so. Boinks starting to join Kwang as well. They do have a slight numbers advantage, but it's not really a clear-cut window to start this neutral objective, and it looks like the team on door side thinks something is up.
I mean, there's always something going on. These neutral objectives start being up, but there is a big advantage in terms of availability and presence on the side of Team Ritterriffic. That being said, with everyone now circling around this pit, this is not going to be a Fangtooth pick. This is going to be a fight.
Ooh, as the Fury of the Heavens going to come down onto two members this dual lane. Has got to be so careful. Tiny Nico is going to be the first to drop an Impale. Comes down to try and get members away, but it looks like the damage is already being done. Boinks also going to get the kill on towards Xclusive, and that's the duo lane falling on Dawn's side, and it's just easy as you like as Team Ritterriffic going to turn back towards his Fangtooth objective. There's still a jungler around. There could still be a potential steal, but they're doing such a good job just zoning away, dancing with the aggro of that Fangtooth as well. Bulba's got no way in towards the pit, and that's going to be the secure. And then now they're going to be careful. Size actually bumping into two very tanky members. Bit of awkward body blocking, but the long arm of the law comes down, and Cure is going to drop on this Kwang. This might be enough for Team Xclusive to turn this fight around. They're going to take the pick onto Boinks. They lose the objective, but they will grab 2 kills for it.
It's a trade you'll take any day, and we have had the discussion about multiple times today. What's better these days? Is it getting the eliminations or getting the neutral objectives? There's been a lot of different opinions about it, and also a lot of different cases that we can argue one or the other. I don't think we have a conclusive answer yet, and that is fine. We don't need to do it yet. It's been 5 days. We're good. That being said, you know, currently one team is getting the neutral objective. And objectives, plural, I would say. And then, you know, we have Team Xclusive trying to get some eliminations on top of it. So we'll see where it ends up between these two so we can add more data to the discussion. For now, we are just waiting to see who's going to win this game, of course.
I mean, we have had that first Fangtooth play as well. And normally, you would expect look towards the other neutral. There wasn't any handshake involved here. We do sometimes see a Fangtooth for a mini prime trade across the map here, but unfortunately not quite got that level of communication, or maybe some place he comes from on the teams. Another ult for ult trade, besides the one who's losing out on this one. Boyce goes for the chase with the torn space. A couple is going to hit onto him, but the Countess gets the kill, and Seismic is going to fall. Boyce now starting a fight with this Richter because they know that D-Mob is behind them. But it's not going to be enough to get a kill on towards the Richter, but another pick on towards that mid lane Gideon.
And with this with this going on, we do see Xclusive now losing that. I mean, they're not losing the mid lane, but like the mid lane is balancing out a little bit more. I've seen it for a little bit, and now it's actually come to fruition more and more. But we do need to see, again, we need to see these lanes not go all the way down for Team Xclusive, and so far they haven't, right? They're still able to keep relatively level. There is more pressure on them than there is on Ritterriffic, but they're okay with that for now as long as they don't feed eliminations away, which they haven't been doing. And yeah, I mean, with the item builds that are currently coming up, and we see it from the Murdoch.
Sorry about that one, folks, but we get to go back to the Castcams. Hello once again, Mano, and I think just to fill air a little bit more, again, apologies for the spectators today. You know what, actually, this entire broadcast, we've not really had any issues with the replay. I think I'm just cursed, Mano. I don't know. It just chases me.
Every time we do something, it just happens to us. I think it's because and the thing is, you'd say, oh, it's Europe, they're dialing in, so there's like a lot. We're not in the game, right? Like, we're just watching someone else stream the game to us. So that shouldn't be a problem, but maybe the game detects it.
I don't know, or maybe I'm just kind of like, whenever we're just involved, you know, it's actually more of a proximity thing as well. You know, we talk about like caster curses and all that, you know, I just curse the replay system. I do remember actually, as we are going down, you know, filling air, this is like the kind of the tangents and the mental gymnastics we do just to kind of make things a little bit more interesting as well. Is that when we do practice cast as well, I remember one time that we just could not get the replay to work, and we said, right, TJ, leave the voice, we'll load up the replay, and then we'll call you back in. And that worked, and that just proves everything, right?
Well, we have the option to kick GG out for a little bit, don't we? No.
Oh, well, actually, okay, don't be too hasty about that one, man.
No, let's not. I mean, hey, I paused my game to be here, so I know what you mean.
That is very true.
We're doing this. But yeah, I mean, we're trying to log back into the game. Of course we are. That's not like we're just going to give up on it. But I mean, yeah, it's surprising to me that we didn't see Aurora this time around. Like, she's been popping up so much. We've seen some pretty cool plays with it. I mean, we've seen a Fangtooth steal with the wall jumping into the pit, which prompted the whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, Aurora is now a hero that can also get into the pit, which I already knew that was going to be a thing. But you know why? Because I play Mei in Overwatch. She built ice walls. And the difference is that Aurora's ice wall is just better. It's more and better. And the reason why it's better is because your teammates can easily use it after you've placed it, which is not the same thing as with you know, a lot of walls and barriers that we see in other games, but even in Predecessor to a degree, where you put a deployable down and it's kind of there. There's not any other interaction you can do with it, and that's what's beautiful about Aurora's wall. Once it's there, there's still a platform for you, also your enemies, but for your entire team to walk up on. So not only is Aurora another hero that can get into the pit herself with the wall, her entire team can follow. So you essentially create extra routes for you to get into any place that you want to that's, you know, not too high of a wall. It gets you also quicker to pits. You go through like your red jungle and jump over that little wall. Like, there's all these other things that your Aurora can set up for you as a team. Of course, when you set it up, you don't have it for a mid-team fight to like block off routes, but it's still a very useful tool for like not just individual but also team mobility. And I can just kind of wait to see more weird things with it, because I do want to see people set up with Auroras in like the early game, like before minions have spawned early game. And they set up somewhere to like jump into a blue jungle, and then all of a sudden there's 5 heroes on top of them and they couldn't see them coming because it's a new pathing that you normally never look for, except for maybe from Kalari. Like, those things are going to happen. People are going to figure them out. It's one of those things where no one's going to always do it, but all of a sudden you have to also be ready for that play. And that's just an extra step that you have to take in prep. And yeah, gonna be great.
Of course, yeah, and these things are going to be figured out as well. Like I'd say, the name of the game with a MOBA like predecessor, it's all about that 3D, jumping over walls, the terrain scaling, and it gets a little bit creative. I mean, don't think this patch has been out quite long enough for people to be cooking up something, but I imagine there's some speed running strat going to go for the Aurora jungle move around the jungle. It looks like we're going to have another pop at getting this game available to you. The replay is back online, so we're going to transition back in towards the game as well. We do apologize for the technical difficulties. It looks like we are going to be rejoining the fray in what looks like the aftermath of a fight as well, but it looks like we have at least gone over the slight bug point. So we're joining back in here at about 18, make that 19 minutes as well. As it looks like we have had some action over on the duo lane, at least, as Tiny Nico is able to pull back this Murdoch away and actually get the kill on towards Cure as well. The Kira going to fall, that energy lance coming out, trying to find more purchase to combine with the Whiplash. Not going to happen this time. It's only one member falling. A little bit of a bit of whiplash to be joining the game with that action Mano, but hey, we got a kill on towards that Kira.
Run, Boinks, run! You can catch them. No, unfortunately, it was a little too late, but very close to that going the other way. It was just Kira going down. But this is what I was talking about before, right? Like, Ritterriffic is the team that should be putting pressure on now. They are in a place where they could power spike, but because especially the Countess has been kept at least level, but maybe even a bit down by that Gideon and the pressure that came onto the mid lane from Team Xclusive, she's not able to put that power spike and that momentum forward the way that maybe the Kwang and the Zaras would be at this point in time. So we're just going to fight over neutral objectives. It's going to be a team fight.
Another Fangtooth were able to Colosseum into a skewer combination onto two members. It's just been combined. Sai throws a black hole in towards the backline as well, trying to cause disruption, trying to cause chaos. That's going to do just that. Containment fences, shield slams, circles on circles on circles. But where did the members drop? It's already going to be one falling. As Xclusive gets one, besides going to fall forward. It's Cure able to get one back. Both ADCs on the board, but members still dropping. It's absolute chaos. It's absolute carnage, and it's going to be 3 members for 2 falling. Motion wants to have a little bit more to say. Going to be linked up by that phase as well, but the damage has already been gone. But man, a bit of a bloodbath. Blink and you will miss it outside that neutral pit.
Yeah, and they were all... That was the thing. Team Xclusive had more members left, but they were all like half or lower. And then there's a full HP Countess on the other side. Like, at that point, then Boinks is really scary, especially when you both your ADC and your mid laner are down and you're just walking around with 2 tanks and a little support. Like, he's going to be able to do a lot of damage and do it really fast, and there's not much you can do about it. So, good thing that they didn't stay into the pit, but now that everyone's back online, they are going to start that Fangtooth anyways, and it's going down in rapid pace. The shield's in the way. I don't think they can steal it. Nope, they will not be able to. It's a 1-1 in Fangtooth, but is there going to be follow-up in a team fight?
Well, it looks like we're going to go for Fangtooth 2. Electric Boogaloo fighting the pit, and Boinks goes for the assassinate, but still back. Going to go for Tiny Nico, getting that kill. He will be trading motion, going to fall a black hole once again from Seismic on towards that backline in the pit opening, but able to get a bit of distance. Takes down D-Mob as well. Cure goes back in, but Cure's going to go straight back out as well. And also Ritterriffic's falling. It's an absolute disaster. Xclusive going to clean up house and take all 5 members of the Dust team back to their spawn.
Oh, and it's the classic moment where you think, oh, they're all in the pit. We should be able to just collapse on them. But the problem is there is a very high damage ADC standing all the way in the back. There's a long road to get to that ADC. And even if you all go together, there's 2 tanks in the way that are going to try and block your route and successfully do so at this stage of the game. So they're not going to be able to win team fights in this way. They have to catch Xclusive off guard or catch them before they set up in this way, where it's a clear, our backline is our backline, and there's no way to get to them besides getting through our front line at this point. So that Fangtooth, after that was lost, there was no way of winning that fight anymore. And yeah, Ritterriffic kind of just bet those eliminations over, like without trying to be rude, but it's kind of what happened, unfortunately.
Gift wrapped first class post as well for the team of Xclusive as well, but fighting into those narrow jungle corridors as well. Seismic's black hole coming in clutch there, but also that lot of CC coming in on the back end as well. The energy lance, that's shield slam, bull rush, the rip flashes. There's so much disruption here, almost being able to physically pull apart Team Ritterriffic's composition here as well. We mentioned about how this comp can be so scary when it's able to get ahead, when members are able to start snowballing. But look at that kill score. It's Team Xclusive who have a little bit of control here as well. But I'm looking towards these structures. Not a lot of towers have dropped, but that might be about to change. Seismic goes very aggressive, but that time flux ban will throw him back to his last location as Ritterriffic hits a stasis bomb. That was just frankly too much damage on towards Xclusive, and Sai is going to take down Cure as well. What on earth was that stasis bomb damage, my friend?
Every time they almost get him and they just don't quite do it. Like if 2 or 3 of those eliminations go through, it's an entirely different game. But this is what I want to see Ritterriffic doing. Put down the Coliseum, use your isolation. Unfortunately, that does end up them losing the Xeris. They do get motion on the other side, but there's the black hole. We'll find another 2, another 3. That is, it turns out disastrous, but it is the play to go. Because Team Ritterriffic, you were talking about disruption of Xclusive. Ritterriffic has the isolation. That is their game. They need to find members they can isolate and execute. They cannot go for these 2 full team fights because there'll be too many disruptions for them to get their job done. Like Countess will constantly not be able to walk forward because pushback, stun, pushback, shield, things in the way. But if you're able to isolate things with a Coliseum or, you know, an electric fence or anything like that, maybe even, you know, a little bit of stun from your Kwang to just stun someone up in isolation, there's just so much more you can do. And every time they go for these team fights, they don't have these AoE effects like a Gideon ultimate that can do that much.
It's also like, as you look at these compositions, you can see that Team Xclusive, the tools that they have available being laid out there for everyone to see here. Like you mentioned, of course, Team Ritterriffic need those isolated kills. They need to find those little skirmishes as well. The Coliseum, Tether, Surge combination on towards the 2 tankiest members resulted in the counter engage back inside their own cage, and it absolutely spun the fight on its head as well. Because I'm looking at these members, I'm thinking, you need isolation, but who do you actually go on this Team Xclusive composition, especially if they start to group up? Because Motion is a tank, and even with 2 members being moved over here as well. But Cure, as the Kira, able to start chunking through this health bar as well. Motion's got it all to do. 3 members actually going to go over towards his right-hand side. Motion still trying to go through all the motions to get away, and it looks like they might get back to the river. Still, Juke is still driving. How on earth has Motion kept himself alive? But no, there is going to be the kill, but a re-engage Seismic with the black hole in towards that river entrance, and now Xclusive able to get the kill with a feast from Boyce. Get the return, and that's going to be kill on towards Seismic, with Cure picking that one up as well. It's going to be a 2-for-1 trade overall, but that looked a little bit dicey.
It's definitely a good trade for them because, of course, they do get eliminations out of it, but they do give up map presence. So because they were all on that side, now they lose their tier 2 on the left lane. Like, that's how this is going to go. So isolation works. Of course, it can work, but you need to also make sure you don't lose too much in your isolation effort. And they normally wouldn't, but it's because this game has been so, you know, relatively even over this time that they're not able to isolate more effectively and pick off these targets on their own. They either started doing it too late or they haven't been rotating effectively. Also, Xclusive has been playing well against it. I don't want to discredit them at all, but it's one of those situations where, right, Xclusive never got far enough behind, or Team Ritterriffic never got too far enough ahead for the space to matter. But they don't have that map presence where they can play isolationist. Now they're almost on the back foot. In fact, I think they are on the back foot.
Yeah, it just seems that with Team Xclusive, with their team fighting as well, and as you mentioned, that map presence and D-Mob getting picked off did allow for Team Xclusive to take a uncontested second Fang 2 for themselves. Means Primal will be spawning in 5 minutes time. Just give both these teams something more to fight over. There's you look at the kills, so this is a 38 kill game at 27 minutes. It has been an absolute bloodbath. Definitely feeling a little bit more like our solo queued games here, but as mentioned, you know, these teams only with 1 week of practice under their belts, so you're going to get a little bit of these plays as well. It gets a little bit chaotic, but it looks like All Prime going to be the starts for this next team fight.
They are all looking at it. The wards are being placed down. The areas are being scouted. No one's actually going into the pit just yet, because of course you don't want to be the first one to go in, lose half your health, and then be picked off. but they are all aware of the name of the game at this point in time. A couple of backs from Team Ritterriffic pick up the last items or item components, getting some health and mana back. And now everyone's ready in fighting state. But will it actually go around the pit? They are looking for a target. They're scouting out, and Ritterriffic is putting the pressure on.
They had to be so careful as well as the damage going to come down into the What's Coliseum. That's a double surge. There's so much damage being pumped out. Xclusive at least gets down, takes down D-Mob. They re-engage the damage, and Boyce comes in with the Eventide, and the Blade Siphon rips through the members of the Dawn side, and they want even more. Gonna take down a Bulbo as well in that narrow corridor. That is a triple kill going to the mid laner of Team Ritterriffic, and just like that, your Dust side gets back in this game.
Yeah, there's no jungler online. They should be going for the Orb Prime here, but they might also want to establish more map control or find more eliminations. It feels like they might be able to get more. They do get Tiny Neko out of it. Maybe they'll be able to get Seismic, but with that escape of the Gideon, I wouldn't count on it. They do got to be careful, though, because Gideon ulting into an Orb Prime pit when you've almost got it, that could be dangerous. And their jungler is not online, so it is a steal opportunity.
And actually, with D-Mob also falling as well, this is so risky, but there is a very narrow window for D-Mob to get over towards this right-hand side and maybe help out with this pit size. We're going to go with the Time Flux band, and also with the Black Hole, with All Prime helping out to be bumped back down. But the Cosmic Ridge, as the explosions from behind him, he gets one. He's going to get two as well. Seismic looking for even more, as Cure wants to get the kill and will be able to find it. But Seismic plays and does the gets the massive plays off to delay that All Prime take.
It's again, right? It's all the damage coming from that Orb Prime, and then you throw it in with a Time Flux ban. They do lose their life for it, but it's absolutely the right play, and it's absolutely a win in the Book of Exclusive, because they lose almost nothing for it. The Orb Prime doesn't get taken, and look at Ritterriffic. Like, everybody fell except for two, and one of them wasn't even there. So yeah, you got a pretty big deal out of that one. And now it's up to Team Xclusive to go into the pit. There is, again, the steal opportunity is there because you've got your jungler there in the Kwang, and he is looking, but I don't think he's going to be making it in time, and he won't indeed. Got to be running away. D-Mob, of course, is the Kwang will be able to do so, but that was a really, really well-coordinated play. You give up your Gideon for Prime, essentially, and that is honestly a trade I think anyone would take any day of the week.
Of course, and Seismic just came in big as well, able to find that damage. And with that Time Flux band crest that he's picked up as well, he's able to play so aggressive and have that freedom to go in towards his composition and know that he's going to be yoinked straight back, because he does have a little bit of safety as well in his positioning. And Team Xclusive is almost like with Team Ritterriffic finding that team fight win. Was a bit of a delay to how this game has been going. Dawnside back in control of this one with the All Prime buff available to themselves here as we're approaching the 31, looking towards 32 minutes as well. It's 27 kills to 20. It has been an absolute chaotic matches. We can have a little look at the slash lines and have a little look at where some of these item builds are going.
Yeah, I mean, I said it before, by the 35-minute mark, you need to be in a good spot if you're Ritterriffic, or it's only going to go downhill from there. They aren't out of the woods just yet on side of Exclusive, but it's getting more and more like they can see the light between the trees. Now, you said, like, look at the item builds. We obviously skip past them pretty quickly, but we are seeing a couple of interesting things here and there. Let me see if I can actually remember them. I don't think I can. It's fine. We'll come past them when we scroll through the heroes every now and then, and we can talk about it then. But for now, both teams are resetting after what has just occurred. Of course, Team Ritterriffic doesn't want to go too deep in order to exacerbate that Prime buff. We do see, of course, the new boots coming out for the Richter. Lovely boots item. Ritterriffic actually picking up one of the new support items, which is one of the things I really like. I'm
Engage coming down here. Primal Fangtooth was taken in the meantime here, and it looks like there was no possible contest from Team Ritterriffic. That means a double bubble buffed up team one more, but Seismic goes in. Seismic going straight back out. Not sure how he was caught out, but the lockdown came through. That's going to be one member without the double buffs on towards their belt as well. And you can see the side on Dust flood forward. They want even more exit frags, but Team Xclusive know the weakness. They want to back away. They want to escape and flee with their lives to get back towards safety, and it looks like they will do just that.
Yeah, they will indeed. Now, Yeah, they do get seismic and get out, but it's again, if they get seismic before anything big happens, they can go for a team fight. If anything, seismic, and of course also, you know, the big bad Murdoch thing that's in the way, they've been the ones doling out the damage. Everyone else has sort of like been delaying, so they can't get them or anything else. So the ideal time to fight Xclusive is when the Gideon isn't there or the Murdoch isn't there, preferably both. But at least it's one of them. If one of them isn't there, you actually have a really good damage chance, at least damage matching chance. But yeah, with the with the Primal Penguins and the Orb Prime both going to Exclusive, it's a rough one. So the double buff is still scary.
And just a note there as well on Xclusive, of course, team captain of Team Xclusive. Clue is in the name as well. On that Murdoch, not really had the flashy plays, but, you know, it is getting those kills, those basics, finding that damage along arms of the law as well. And he's also keeping himself so safe as well. And that was one of the things that we highlighted that this Murdoch really needed to do as well. But honestly, you know, Tiny Nico on that face been doing a pretty good job of keeping their ADC alive throughout these exchanges.
Yeah, and we were talking about like phase, especially when you have that synergy between your ADC and your supporter. They do have that pre-existing synergy. That's like the one thing that they have over a lot of other teams. They do find boinks here quite easily in the mid lane, and they're just barreling down it. They want to get that inhibitor if they can, but they might not be able to. Ritterriffic is going to respond to this, because of course they're going to.
Well, they can't exactly allow that inhibitor to fall. There's no mini wave just yet. So it's just kind of a little bit of an awkward poke game. You can see that damage signs come through the energy lance. Not going to find the mark there, but Primordial Blaze still ticking over. So even if one of these members does get picked off, just like Boinks did in that mid lane as well, they will soon be pulling a bit of a vanishing axe. Mid lane inhibitors are going to drop. They have got the left lane wave starting to push up as well, so will look most likely be able to take this one as well. Tether starting to come down, but it's just so difficult for this Dust team to get into what this plays. A Rip Flash comes down, the energy lands on towards Motion, and Side's going to get a kill on towards Cured along the law, thrown over the top as well. And they're only just going to get the one kill on towards Akira, but that is a priority member. And now this Xanazur has to try and get back towards the standing inhibitor, but not going to keep their live. 3 members are going to drop, and it's so staggered as well. Boinks is back, but the base is in tatters.
Yeah, this is a very rough one to come back from. Of course it is. I mean, the 35-minute mark, they're not ahead at all. They're, in fact, far behind. And the scaling is not doing them justice. The tanks got ahead. The tanks are very tanky on the side of Team Xclusive. And they are doing an amazing job of both setting up, but also setting up plays for their own team and denying plays for Team Ritterriffic. They have got the balanced team comp. They have got it figured out. And there's no getting past it at this point. Ritterriffic needs to find another point. In the last fight they won because they got more space to work with. They got multiple angles of attack, and they were able to get Boinks behind to be able to get on top of that Murdoch. They were able to get these different angles going, distracting the tanks with the Xerath to do a bunch of other different things, and it worked out that way. But those conditions are much harder to meet when it's constantly Team Xclusive being in a position where they get to dictate not only where the battle takes place, but also what their positions are.
And it's also very important to note as well that Seismic was in that left lane when that team fight went the way of Team Ritterriffic. All Prime going to be started up. As you can see the health bars, just look at it, just be shredded by this team. But Team Ritterriffic have something to say about that energy lance. The black holes, more circles being thrown down by both his teams. D-Mob trying to go for the steal, but they pull away from the All Prime, and it's just enough to take down that jungler. Now they want more. They want even more as the Colosseum locks members down. Cure, the only one left, is going to try and keep themselves alive, able to get away from most of Carnage, but the duo lane is in full retreat. Team Ritterriffic, that is quite a tongue twister, as maybe I've got a little bit more time to perfect that, because Ritterriffic is going back to base. Cure makes it back to the fountain, but this is all Team Xclusive, and at a core, they're going to take it all the way to the house.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to be able to stop this one. The minions are there. All the heroes are there. It's buffed. It's destruction, Team Xclusive. I don't even think they outdrafted one another, or like they outdrafted Team Ritterriffic. They definitely just outplayed him in the way that their strat worked.